What's up, everybody? Jason up, New 80s Revolution down here in the cave for another episode of the TN80sR half-hour power hour, where you are a part of the channel through your questions. Anything, ask anything you want to know about the New 80s Revolution, the character, the man behind the mask, whatever you want to know. Send the questions to TN80R questions@gmail.com. We'll go through a few more of your guys' questions in a few moments. First, I wanted to, what did I want to do? I wanted to thank you for enjoying the commercials video. That's a keeper now. That got a good chunk of views and a lot of comments. And so we're going to keep going with the commercials show. Maybe I'll come up with a catchy little title for it. I don't know. But so basically, if you missed it, I pulled a bunch of LJN WWF commercials from the tube, got some He-Man commercials, threw them all in there, and interrupted it every once in a while to talk about my thoughts and feelings about the items. And we'll do that, and we'll do that with all kinds of stuff. All you guys sent me a ton of ideas for commercials that you want to see, themes that you wanted to see. So we will do that going forward. What else? I was also thinking, and you guys let me know, of maybe adding more of a serious show to the channel lineup, where we talked a little bit about mental health. Totally up to you guys. This is where I'm going to actually ask you to give 100% honest feedback. I don't want to start a new channel and keep it strictly mental health. And by mental health, I mean we would talk about depression, anxiety, stress, grief, anger, relationship issues, addictions of all kinds, diagnoses and medication and things like that, treatment options. And then maybe, throw it to you guys to talk about some topics as well, or things that you'd want me to talk about in the mental health world. I don't want to start a new channel for that, because I'd have to start all over with getting new subscribers and monetizing the channel. So I would just use it on this. I would just do it on this channel and just do it as kind of a more serious side of the channel. But I won't if you don't think it would be useful, and maybe not useful to you, but do you think other people would discover the channel if we talked about mental health? Not all the time, not often, maybe a weekly show, who knows? So really let me know if it's a solid no. Tell me, don't just leave a thumbs down to the idea, because then I won't know why you're thumbs downing. Do you not like the mental health idea, or do you just not like my face? I don't know. No, they like my face, Finn. Don't worry. So yeah, let me know. Let me know about that. Finally, I glossed Bad News Brown, glossed and sealed. He is done. The gloss sort of makes it more... let's see. Which figure can I pull? Sort of makes it more LJN-y, I guess, with the glossiness. I don't know if I like it this way or if I like it the way it was originally sent to me, but everything got a little bit more of a shine, a little luster. I don't know if it's too shiny. The camera is picking up a lot of glare and shine. It's I don't know. It's not sticky. It's not tacky. But it's glossed up. I might I don't know, I might leave Mr. Perfect as is, but this is what a completed glossy Bad News Brown looks like. Pretty awesome. Of course, from XOX by Random Treasures on Etsy. Go get your amazing, incredible LJN sculptures from her. There will be more surprises coming from Random Treasures, XOX Customs. Huge surprises, by the way. I'm just not, I'm not allowed to say, but big stuff coming from them as far as characters that they are creating. Good stuff, trust me. All right, let's jump right into the questions. We've talked enough. John Let's see if John wants to be called anything. John wants to be called Rabid Hamster. John is a rabid hamster, and he is asking. He says, "Hello, Jason. Not sure what your experience with these toys were as a kid, but these were released in 1985." He's talking about Pound Puppies. Pound Puppies, he says, they were released in 1985, probably the perfect time for me since I was 8 years old at the time. Every kid I knew had a Pound Puppy, so I had to have one too, which eventually I did get. I think they struck gold with this idea because it appealed to both boys and girls. I absolutely loved Pound Puppies. Well, he says these toys have been re-released and they look pretty much identical to the original Pound Puppies from 1985. For nostalgia's sake, I had to pick a couple of these up. My question is, what is your take on this re-release? Is this something you would pick up even if it's not a true original? Did you have any of these as a kid? Okay. I've seen the Pound Puppy re-releases and they're great. The packaging is very identical. I think they did Pound Puppies and Pound Purries. I absolutely love the idea as a kid. I think you're right. It appealed to boys and girls. I don't know if they made Pound Purries to appeal more to girls. I don't think so. I think they just made cats to naturally go along with dogs and just continue to capitalize on their success. As far as would I get the re-release? I have 2 Pound Puppies already. Yeah, I have an actual Pound Puppy, and I have a bigger Pound Puppy. So I probably wouldn't get them now because I already have 2. So I have 2 of the originals. But I think they're great re-releases. There have been re-releases that are outstanding, that are perfect. The Ghostbuster re-releases are incredible. It's almost like we went back in time and they made the exact same figure. The 3 3/4 inch G.I. Joe re-releases are junk. They're just junk. You know, they're not even close to the same style of figure. The only thing that looks good is the carding. They got the carding pretty perfect, but the figures are junk. The figures look and feel like those generic action figures, those generic 3 3/4 that come with like the generic military stuff that Walmart sells, or my kids were collecting or playing with Animal Planet toys back in the day, and those action figures were very generic. That's what the new 3 3/4 inch G.I. Joes remind me of. I don't like them. But there have been good releases, re-releases. Pound Puppies, absolutely, they got right. I just wouldn't get one because I already have 2 originals. So thank you, Rabid Hamster, for your question. So we will delete you so I don't ask your question again. What you doing, Finn?
Nothing.
Nothing? All right, my man, Trevor. Trevor says, what are your thoughts on retro wave, synthwave artwork or music? Check it out if you haven't seen it. I think it's pretty cool. I think the music came out 10 years ago or so. Not sure about the artwork. It brings back the 80s in a different vibe. I haven't any experience with that. I am not a music guy at all. I'm not a at all. I don't know what. I'm not a big music guy. So retro wave, synth wave, I assume it's pretty groovy. Maybe I'll check it out, but I'm really not a music guy. You know, Michael Jackson and Madonna and, I don't know. That's pretty much me in the 80s with music. He says, what are your thoughts on an 80s type road trip, like going around to different states and checking out different 80s places and events? I know there is a museum in California called Mystic Museum that features retro things. Also a place in Wisconsin that is set up for the 80s where you and family can take photos dressed up in 80s gear. I'm sure there's a lot more out there too. I think it could be a good idea for some more interesting YouTube videos from you. Well, thank you, Trevor. Yeah, I would love to do that. Check out some retro spots and do some road trips. Yeah, I mean there's lots. We as a family are hoping to hit as many 50 states as possible while the children are young. And we're going to start with Pennsylvania next year. You know, we've got like a list of like very touristy things to do. You know, eat at the Geno's steak, you know, place, and hit up the haunted prison, and you know, the Rocky statue. I mean, just really touristy things. But yeah, if we're doing that, if we're traveling and hitting different states, then I would love to check out some places that have the 80s vibe. But thank you again, Trevor, for that. John Feely, Johnny8585. He says, have you met or had a photo with Don Morocco? Maybe get him down in the cave for a Q&A and call it Rockin' Rochester. I would love to meet Don Morocco. I never have. I think he truly lives in Hawaii and really wouldn't be coming this way, I would guess. I mean, I think he's in his 70s. I think he has no need to come east. But one of my favorite wrestlers, and would love to meet him. I got close to conversating with him when I was, you know, doing a little bit of a kind of a podcast type thing that was broadcast on YouTube. You remember I was doing that like a year ago or so, year and a half, longer, I don't know, maybe 2 years ago. And Don Morocco was one of the guys on the show. And I just never got a chance to get on a show with him. But I love Don Morocco. He says, are you aware of the campsite in Georgia called Camp Daniel Morgan? It is a fan attraction, Friday the 13th Part 6 filming location. That's awesome. I wasn't aware of that. Maybe Georgia would be a place that I would visit when I do the 50 States tour. You know, that is one of the states, I believe. So maybe I'll add that. In October, the Chiller Theater Convention is coming. Now, I'm not even going to pretend that I'm going. I'm not going to say it. I don't know. I doubt it. I feel a little bit more comfortable at a Chiller because it's in a hotel and it's very, very, very spread out. Extremely spread out. And the convention is right at the hotel. Maybe. But as I drive to Chiller from Rochester, I pass right into New Jersey. The first exit in New Jersey, the way I go, is Blairstown. And of course, Blairstown is the filming location for Friday the 13th Part 1. And so if I go to Chiller this year at the end of October, I will stop in Blairstown and go to the camp. I think it's called something like Camp Nobi Skoku or something like that. The Crystal Lake campsite is an actual Boy Scout camp, and you know, violate the no trespassing signs, of course, and drive through and hopefully, you know, not get arrested. But there's also other filming locations right in that area. The diner that was used in Part 1 is still standing and is used. You guys already know this. It is an actual diner that plays off the fanfare, so I will check that out. I think you would love living in Ontario, Canada. There are plenty of farms, wildlife. Would love to see the new 80s revolution live in the great outdoors if you can stand long, cold winters and a lack of cons. Johnny8585, I would love to live in Canada. I would love to live in the wildernessy area of Canada. I would love to see elk and moose if that is what you have in Canada. I truly would. I would love to create a life in Canada, and you know, but I don't know. You know, I would have to open a practice there. It would be a mighty task, and Canada doesn't want us. Canada is not, you don't immigrate to Canada. Canada does not want us. They make it very, 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 very difficult to move to Canada. You have to buy in, you have to marry in, you have to go to school there, or you have to bring a business that Canada wants. And, they don't make it easy. Not surprisingly. Ooh. Thumbs down. All right, so John, thank you, John, again for your awesome questions. My man David, who's got a fantastic channel, him and his lady, him and his wife, they do a channel called Open by Chance. Go check them out on the tube, Open by Chance. He says, what dream tag team wrestling match would you have liked to seen that never happened? I like that you put "that never happened" in quotes, because I think I know what you mean. When we grew up, watching wrestling, we only knew what happened if the television told us it happened, right? Or if the magazines told us that it happened. We didn't get to see a lot of stuff outside of our market. So I remember being blown away when I found out that the British Bulldogs, what was it? That the British Bulldogs... No, it was Dynamite Kid versus Davey Boy Smith. I remember the Pro Wrestling Illustrated, or one of those magazines that had a cover that said Dynamite Kid versus Davey Boy Smith. It happened, and we have the photos. Now, of course it happened. Now at 45 years old and having tons of access to footage and YouTube and all that, sure, we know that they wrestled each other in Stampede, but back in 1986, when they first broke that story, you were like, what? Are you kidding me? I probably would have liked to seen some NWA versus WWF in the 80s. So like, British Bulldogs versus the Road Warriors. Rock and Roll Express versus the British Bulldogs. Rock and Roll Express versus the Hart Foundation. Maybe Rock and Roll Express versus the Rockers. I would have loved to have seen some of that cross-company contamination. Open by Chance. Go check out their channel. So thank you very much for that. We got a few more minutes to go here with the questions. So we'll hit my man Nate. Nate is a sign fan. He's got another question for me. He says, you've mentioned that you're a Yankees fan, and from your tours you've shown or mentioned starting lineups, and we have talked about enjoying various trading cards. I too have collected everything from WWF Classic to Marvel DC comic cards, movie cards from the 80s and 90s, Gulf War, politics cards, but my biggest passion was always the sports cards. My question is, did you ever collect baseball cards or any other type of sports card? Sure I did. I absolutely got into the baseball card frenzy of the mid-80s. Yes, Topps and Donruss and Fleer and Upper Deck. I remember Upper Deck was like, well, it was Upper Deck. It was the top shelf of cards. It was it was a beautiful glossy card, and more expensive, I believe. But yeah, I did. I had binders of cards and but trying to get comfortable here. But back then, my thinking was, so I was so dumb as a kid that like my mom got me a price guide, and I would like look up every card and like look for like the near mint value and just overprice all my cards and just be like, oh my god, I'm a millionaire. And then like she'd get me, like, remember when they were like gimmick cards, like they'd do like a Mickey Mantle like reprint that was worth 3 cents, but I would think that I had a Mickey Mantle card. But yeah, I liked them. I liked baseball cards. I liked football cards. I was never into basketball cards. I was never into hockey cards. There was a period of time when I was a really big boxing fan in like the late 80s, early 90s, when HBO boxing was like the greatest. And USA had a show called Tuesday Night Fights, and ESPN still had Top Rank Boxing, and Larry Merchant and those guys on HBO. You saw world heavyweight title matches on HBO for free. I remember George Foreman beating Michael Moore for the heavyweight title, me just like losing my mind. But anyway, they had boxing cards, so I would collect boxing cards. Believe it or not, the Professional Bowlers Association had playing cards or collectible cards, and I bought those as well. So yes, I was into it. And he suggested a Whatever Happened To series on baseball card shops. They used to be all over town when I was growing up in the 80s, but they've become extinct like toy stores. True. Yeah, the card shows, or the card stores, the collectible stores. We had a bunch in town. Thanks, Sign Fan. Appreciate you. All right, we'll do one more quickly. This is Simon, my man Simon from Montreal. Love that. Simon says, congrats for your channel and your hard work. It's amazing. Aw, geez, thanks, Simon from Montreal. He says a few questions. Do you think if you had been an adult in the 80s that you would that you would have liked the WWF gimmicks, the parrots, the barbers, etc., or do you think maybe we loved it because we were children and it was targeted at us? All right, that's the one question from Simon I'll ask, and then we'll save his remaining questions for later. That's a great question. Would we have, if I was 45 today and a wrestling fan in the 80s? I don't know. I don't know because I don't know. But think about it. I mean, if we were a fan at 45 in the 80s, then that would mean we grew up with 50s, 60s, and 70s wrestling. So would we have rejected the parrots and the barber and the snake and the gimmicks like that? Likely. I would have to say likely we would have rejected it. But I love it today, and I don't just love it for nostalgia's sake. I love it. I mean, I roll my eyes at some of the stuff from the 80s, but I don't turn it off and say, well, this is silly. Why is Coco Beware bringing a parrot to the ring? I don't know, but I'm trying to think of it logically. Like we would have watched 3 decades of wrestling, and then the 80s, expansion would have happened. Would we have accepted it, or would we have, been like, what is, this is silly. Bring back Bruno Sammartino and Lou Thesz. I don't know. I would probably think that we'd have a hard time with the gimmicky nature of the 80s wrestling. I would assume. So that's that. That leads me to another thought. I did watch SummerSlam last night with my kid, and I got a lot to say about SummerSlam 2021. We watched CM Punk reappear in the wrestling world on AEW Rampage last week. I got a lot to say about that too. So maybe I'll make a show called Hey, Let's Talk About Modern Wrestling. Bet you would never have thought that I'd talk about that. We'll do that all coming up soon, whenever. And yeah, let me know about that mental health thing. Talk to y'all later. Good night now.